TECC-Cast, a multiple award-winning, not-for-profit, student-led podcast recorded directly from math class at the corner of René Levesque at Saint Mathieu in downtown Montreal. Welcome to the third episode of TECC-Cast in Season 4. We are very happy that you are joining us for this exciting episode. Hello, TECC-Cast world. My name is Alessia, and I am your host for this episode. I am thrilled to be back in the studio, and I'm looking forward to presenting some fantastic segments for you all. Joining me today as my co-host for the first time in this season is Saber, otherwise known as STT. In today's episode, we will be sharing our 3 jokes of the day, 3 facts of the day, and 3 quotes of the day.
Because 3, it's a magic number. Yes, it is.
Also, we are launching a new segment that will be a regular feature of Season 4. The segment is called
In the Dungeon with Saber.
And we will be having a guest join us in the studio to answer some hard-hitting questions on the spot. The segment is sure to be a hit with our loyal listeners, and Saber is keen to unleash his random questions direct from his dungeon. So get comfy, turn up the heater, and enjoy the third episode of TECC-Cast. So, who doesn't like a good laugh? I love a great joke, and now I'm going to reveal our 3 jokes of the day. Why did Cinderella get kicked off the soccer team? Because she ran away from the ball. Joke number 2. My teachers told me I'd never amount to much because I procrastinate so much. I told them, just you wait. Joke number 3. A grasshopper sits down at the bar. The bartender says, we have a drink named after you. The grasshopper replies, who names a drink Steve? Moving on to our 3 facts of the day. Believe it or not, the facts I'm going to reveal to you now are true and they are not fake. Did you know that mosquitoes are the most deadly animal in the world? They kill more people than any other creature due to the disease that they carry.
Ow!
The average person will spend 6 months of their life waiting for a red light to turn green. A bolt of lightning contains enough energy to toast 100,000 slices of bread. Lastly, I'm going to share our 3 quotes of the day. These quotes are very powerful. My mama says, life is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get, by Forrest Gump. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game's winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeeded, by Michael Jordan. When I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down, happy. They told me I did not understand the assignment, and I told them, you don't understand life, by John Lennon.
Ooh, you just got roasted.
Welcome to medieval times.
So I am very excited to host our newest segment of Season 4, In the Dungeon with Saber. This segment is quite simple. We invite a guest into our studio and get them to sit in my dungeon. Then I bombard them with a list of random questions. Our first guest, is James Berlin. Hi James, welcome to my dungeon. I really appreciate you agreeing to be our first ever In the Dungeon with Saber participant. How are you feeling about being the very first participant?
I'm excited. I don't know if these are still Halloween decorations, but it's pretty spooky in here. I gotta say, it's a nice dungeon.
Okay, let's put James out of his misery.
Yeah, please. Okay, let's go.
Number 1, tell us something interesting about yourself most people do not know.
Well, as a young child, I was bullied a lot. I was a bit of an awkward guy, definitely through grades 3, 4, 5. I was having trouble at school and even with my home life a bit. And I was bullied mercilessly. It was so bad that I dreaded recesses. I used to dress up in a snowsuit and just go basically hide in the schoolyard. It was not a good time, and I look back at it now, and it feels like I was a character in a Charles Dickens novel. It was really in hindsight I realize quite a rough and terrible time.
Number 2, what is the most embarrassing you have ever worn?
The most embarrassing thing I ever worn? It's a funny question because, again, when I was a young guy around 12, 13 years of age, I had this purple Speedo, which I loved. Purple is my favorite color, and I used to wear it around town all the time. At one point, I even lost it, and people knew it was my Speedo, and they came over to my parents' house and dropped it off. And I thought it was awesome. I loved it. I thought I looked like Mark Spitz. I thought I could fight crime in it. And it's only in hindsight, later on, when I look back at old family photos and various things, movies, that I realized it was really not a good look. Not a good look at all.
Number 3, what's the weirdest smell you have ever smelled?
That's got to be, and I don't mean this flippantly, the smell of something that's dead. I remember once I was out mowing my lawn, and I suddenly smelt this really awful smell. And it's sort of a sweet smell and a very pungent smell, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I looked around, and I found this sort of animal graveyard of all these dead animals my cat had collected. There were dead mice and pigeons and squirrels and even a dead crow. And it was just awful. And sometimes you probably have this happen where you're at home and you might smell an odd smell for a few days. And my guess is that might be a mouse or something that's died in your walls. But that smell is very particular. And I think we're hardwired as a species to not enjoy the smell of something that's really dead.
Mm-hmm. Number 4, what's the most imaginative insult you can come up with?
I've always liked calling someone an obsequious sycophant, mainly because a lot of people don't know what I'm saying, and they have to go look it up. And then when they do, they're terribly insulted. A sycophant is somebody who he really is sucking up to somebody terribly, a real brown-noser. So when you say someone's an obsequious sycophant, they're like a greasy brown-noser.
Number 5, if you could compare yourself with any animal, which would it be and why?
Well, in fact, quite often, my wife's nickname for me is Water Bear, because when I swim, I huff and puff water quite a bit out of my mouth, and that's her nickname, or pet name for me. And the name Berlin actually means a little bear. So I think it's apropos that if I had sort of a totemic or spiritual animal, it would be a bear. Also, I would love to sleep for half a year.
Number 6, what would be the worst buy one get one free sale of all time?
Well, I got to tell you, that's an interesting question. There's this new product, I don't know if you've seen it advertised on television, called Lumi. And it's meant to be a deodorant, a safe deodorant, and they bill it as for all your privates. And I can only assume they're alluding to you using it not just in your armpits, but, say, other pits. And I'm thinking, what's the world come to? Do we really need deodorant for, butt cracks? So I think that's the most absurd product that I've seen advertised. There's a lot of advertising for it, and I would never buy it, even if there was buy one, get one free. It doesn't appeal to me whatsoever.
Number 7, what would be the creepiest thing you could say while passing a stranger on the street?
Would I be kind of whispering it or something? Like if I would, I guess I'd go up to somebody and I'd say, the ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. And they wouldn't know what I'm saying. But I think that'd be the creepiest thing. And what the ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny means is that as a species, we've evolved from other species. You can track back through zygotes how evolution works. So it's creepy it's not really creepy, actually. It's not creepy at all. But I think saying it to somebody like that, they're going to wonder what I'm saying and think it's creepy. And they might find it creepy. Some people don't believe in evolution. Some people don't believe in sort of our genetic history. So it might offend some people.
Number 8. What keeps you up night?
I have real trouble shutting down at night. I've always, when I go home, I can listen to 3-4 things at once. I can have the radio on and the television on and a podcast on, and my wife and kids won't believe that I'm actually listening to all those things, and I do, but there's a price for that, and the price is that they're all still going through my head when I'm going to bed. So I have a lot of trouble sort of stopping my brain from working in that way and sort of shutting things down. I've also noticed that I don't sleep well in the city. In Montreal, I sleep maybe 4 or 5 hours a night, if I'm lucky 6. Whereas when I'm in the townships in the summers, I'll sleep 8-9 hours no problem. So I'm definitely more of a country mouse than a city mouse.
Number 9. If you could visit any country in the world, where would you go and why?
I would love to go to New Zealand. Sorry, Matt. Australian would be second on that list. But I'd love to go to New Zealand. I'm a real fan of their current Prime Minister. I think the country is a fantastic model in terms of the way they approach things. And also, I'm awfully fond of hobbits.
Number 10. You're a mad scientist. What scientific experiment would you run if money and ethics weren't an issue?
That's a really interesting question. I have to say, back when I was studying engineering, occasionally we'd get things called a DARPA proposal. And DARPA stands for Defense Alternative Research Project Applications. And this was coming from the US military. And I remember one came across, which was for building a powered exoskeleton. And they give you all the information for it. And I actually started working on it with a couple of friends of mine. And we got pretty close. The real challenge being the power supply, not how the exoskeleton would work, but how you would power it. And that was back in sort of 2000. And now with sort of the development of battery technologies we have, I'm thinking that I wouldn't be surprised, in fact, if in the next 10 to 15 years, you actually start seeing powered exoskeletons. So that's something I'd love to tinker with.
So it looks like James has come out of my dungeon safe and sound. You handle it yourself quite well, and you shared some unique and personal details about yourself. I can't thank you enough for being so honest with your responses. How did it feel being in the dungeon, James?
I really enjoyed it, actually. I didn't know how it was going to go down, but I thank you for being an excellent host, Saber. Good job. And I encourage anyone else to come on and give this a try. It was a fun time. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best for the future, James, and we hope to get you back on our podcast sometime.
Anytime. Happy to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to medieval times.
Well, this concludes our 3rd episode of TECC-Cast this season. We hope you enjoyed your podcast experience. We are extremely happy that you could join us. We would like to thank our professional team of writers, producers, editors, and sound engineers. We would also like to thank our sponsors. This episode was proudly brought to you by our bronze partner, Summit Shopworks. Tune into your next episode because we have some wonderful segments planned for you. Until next time, be kind to your neighbors and take care out there.